Welcome to the Pub Sports Radio Ian Cameron Sports Report for Thursday, October 15th. Back at it, this show Monday to Friday, every weekday here on the Pub Sports Radio YouTube channel. Let's look back on what we saw yesterday. We had two baseball playoff games, and you can pretty much turn the Braves-Dodgers game off after the top of the first inning. What an ambush, what an avalanche from the LA Dodgers lineup in the first inning. 11 runs. And if you had the over in that game like I did, and I mentioned liking the over in that game on the Ian Cameron Sports Report show yesterday, you cashed your ticket by the end of the top of the first inning. 11-0 Dodgers. In fact, still in the first inning, that game went over the total. Unbelievable offensive explosion from the LA Dodgers. And you know why the Dodgers finally decided, you know what, with the game 0-0, we're actually going to show up offensively for the first time. And you know what changed? They listened to me right here on this show yesterday because I just raked them over the coals for their lack of clutch hitting. It's fine to be hitting the baseball and having success piling up runs when you're trailing big or when you're leading big in a game. But yesterday, down 2-0 in this series to the Atlanta Braves in a position in Game 3 where, look, it's almost a game you have to win for the LA Dodgers. It's difficult to envision a scenario where against a team as good as the Atlanta Braves, you're going to come back and beat them 4 straight games. Finally, in the first inning, with pressure on them to perform, we saw the Dodgers lineup come through, and everybody got in on it pretty much for the Dodgers. Up and down the lineup, Muncy, Bellinger, Jock Peterson had some big hits even for them. Mookie Betts. I mean, it was everybody in this Dodgers lineup contributing to the offensive onslaught that took place against the Atlanta Braves yesterday. An easy victory for the Dodgers. The game flies over the total, as mentioned in the very first inning of the game. And, of course, if you had the Dodgers money line or Dodgers run line, and I know a lot of people didn't have to sweat that one bit. Dodgers back in the series, and now they'll turn to their veteran, Clayton Kershaw, back in the rotation for Game 4 tonight after being scratched from his last start due to back spasms. We'll see if he can deliver another strong postseason performance after pitching quite well for the Dodgers against the Brewers and Padres in their first 2 playoff series. So that series now 2-1 for Atlanta, Game 4 tonight. ALCS, I honestly thought it was going to end last night. And I thought it would have the collective backs maybe had been broken for the Houston Astros after losing Game 3. But give the Astros credit and give Dusty Baker, the manager, credit. You know, I sympathize with the guy. I said on Twitter, I don't feel sorry for anybody on this Astros team except maybe Dusty Baker because he's legitimately a good guy. He is very well liked. The players always love playing for him because he respects them, treats them like family, treats them like his own kids, to be honest with you. That's how close the relationships have been over the years with Dusty Baker and his players when he's been an MLB manager. And the players like that. And he made a really good decision, I thought, yesterday to, gather the team, have a little bit of a, meeting or speech or whatever the case may be. And he basically just tried to say, take it one game at a time. We believe, we believe in everybody on this team. Apparently he talked one-on-one with Jose Altuve, who of course was the headline story in Game 3 of this series with the multiple errors and the fact that he's basically got a case of the yips in this series when it comes to fielding the baseball. And that obviously is something they had to get fixed, or at least try to get fixed. So Dusty had a chat with him. Sure enough, Jose Altuve, responds the way you would want him to respond, with a good performance, better in the field, but more importantly, doing it at the plate with his bat. Of course, gets the 2 home runs yesterday, or gets the home run and then the big RBI later in the game to give the Astros a lead. And finally, the Astros played with a little bit of a cushion. I know they were only up by 2, but at least, it forced them to, they finally got to the position where they could put in their closer. We hadn't seen Ryan Presley much in this series. They were finally able to get him in there and get a save, although it was a save that he just barely got by the skin of his teeth. But nevertheless, give the Astros credit. They got up off the mat, got up off the deck, and found a way to win Game 4 and make it a more interesting series, at least 3-1. It's still going to be an arduous task to come all the way back and win this series against the Rays, but you got to start with winning 1, and they did that to force a Game 5 tonight in the ALCS. The college football game, man, this one made me happy. Coastal Carolina, I mentioned if I was going to bet that game from a side perspective on the show yesterday, that it would be Coastal Carolina plus the points or nothing. And that's exactly what I did with Coastal Carolina plus 7.5, winning outright against UL Lafayette 30-27. That was a top play winner for Ian Cameron capping subscribers as well yesterday to get the college football week started on the right note and the winning note. Very happy with the way things went. I thought Coastal Carolina was a bet-on team coming into the season. They have now rewarded me 3 times after last night's outright win as dogs against ULL. I took them against Kansas. I took them against Arkansas State. And then I took them again last night against UL Lafayette. This is a good football team. And I think people now, hopefully now that they got to see Coastal Carolina again on a national TV environment on ESPN, they got to see this is a very, very fundamentally sound, solid, well-coached football team. It just is. You know, their offense with Grayson McCall was solid, moved the ball through the air, on the ground. CJ Marable, the running back, outstanding. The offensive line opened up holes for the ground game, gave McCall time, throw the football down the field. And their defense against a really, really balanced and strong offense for Lafayette, you know, who has a veteran senior in Levi Lewis at quarterback and a 3-prong running back group with led by Regis and Mitchell in particular. They did a good job on them. You know, they forced a key turnover, which really ended up being the main difference in the game and led to a Coastal Carolina touchdown when they got that interception in UL Lafayette deep in their own territory. And it really swung the game in Coastal Carolina's favor. And Jamie Chadwell, to me, is looking like he's one of the better young coaches in FBS college football right now. He's done an incredible job with this program. To think that they just joined FBS college football a couple of years ago. I think this is only their 3rd year in the Sun Belt, 3rd year in FBS football after being an FCS team before that. And to see them now all of a sudden 4-0, they've started out a Sun Belt conference play 2-0, and now have a legit chance to win this conference because they just beat the team that a lot of people thought would win the Sun Belt this year. Look out for Coastal Carolina. Here's the issue with Coastal moving forward, though, and I caution you with this team, is that, look, I've enjoyed backing this team 3 times already this season here in the first month. They've been a good point spread value team. They've been an undervalued commodity in the betting markets. When you beat a team like UL Lafayette, a good non-Power 5 team, outright as a dog in a national TV spot like that, I worry that the point spread value is not going to be there moving forward with Coastal Carolina. You're going to see this team power rated and priced appropriately and much higher than I think they were going into last night. So beware of that. Coastal Carolina has been a moneymaker. They've been an ATS machine so far this season. I don't know if that's necessarily going to continue indefinitely moving forward. You get a win like you had last night, and a lot of times the betting markets and the odds makers notice. So just beware. If you haven't been betting Coastal Carolina yet, you see last night's result, and then you start thinking, boy, I better start betting on this team. Pump the brakes just a little bit. I worry that the point spread value might start to slip away when it comes to looking to back the Chanticleers moving forward, because now you're going to see them favored in a majority of their Sun Belt games, because that was arguably their toughest game, or one of their toughest games in conference play this season. They're going to be facing some of the mid-tier, bottom-tier teams in the conference, and they're going to be favored. And Coastal Carolina has been a great dog. They've been a little bit more spotty as a favorite, this season and specifically last year. So keep that in mind. It's been a great run for me back in this team, but I'm not sure this is going to be a team that week in and week out is going to keep cashing tickets moving forward like they have so far in the first month of the season. All right, let's turn our attention now to what's about to happen, and that's here on this Thursday, October 15th card. Let's talk about the 2 baseball games first. We really can't get into much detail yet with Tampa Bay Houston because we have no starting pitchers announced. We have no line on the board yet for this game as of this recording of this show. All I'm going to say about it is, Houston dug down deep, won game 4 to stay alive. That's not necessarily something I expect to continue moving forward. Greinke was terrific. I got to tip my cap to Greinke because I lost with the over in this game yesterday, the Rays and Astros, and he's a big reason why. He got out of trouble. He kept the Rays hitters off balance, worked both sides of the plate. It was a really, really good effort from a veteran pitcher when his team needed it the most. And for a guy that's obviously lost a lot in terms of his velocity, has had to completely change the way he pitches. He's got to, be almost like a junk ball pitcher, work both sides of the plate, up and down in the zone, keep hitters off balance. I thought he did a really good job. And now Houston looking to stay alive here. I don't know if I can trust them to win again. They used their high leverage relievers yesterday for the first time, and they'd be pitching on back-to-back days. We know Tampa Bay's got the stronger, deeper bullpen. Houston, for the first time, Tampa Bay had trouble scoring with runners in scoring position, getting that big hit. But to me, I would not be thinking that, wow, Houston won yesterday. This team might be live now and start making it all the way back in this series. They've certainly got the pieces to do it. But Tampa Bay, you look at their track record off a loss. I believe Tampa Bay is something like 14-3 or 14-4 off a loss in their last 17 or 18 games in that situation. So I'm not going against Tampa Bay after losing yesterday. We'll see where the price comes out, but I definitely would lean to the Rays to finally close out this series here in Game 5 and advance to the World Series. Dodgers and Braves. Clayton Kershaw, as mentioned, makes his return from back spasms to make this start for the Dodgers against Bryce Wilson for the Atlanta Braves. We've got the Dodgers, a big favorite as you'd expect, minus 220 or so, the total 9 across the board. And I'm going to back the same thing I backed in yesterday's Braves-Dodgers game. I like this game over the total. And I know it's Clayton Kershaw involved, and people might get a little scared of betting the over because of that. And look, Kershaw's been really, really good in his first couple postseason starts, no doubt. He was great against Milwaukee, dominant in that start. He was really strong as well against San Diego. You're facing the best lineup you faced, though, so far, probably top to bottom here with this Atlanta team. And Atlanta should match up decently against him with him being a lefty. There's some bats that the Braves can throw at Clayton Kershaw that should be able to have some success here. On the flip side, Bryce Wilson hasn't started since September. He's a fringe arm, in my opinion, for Atlanta. They're basically starting him out of necessity here, not because they've got huge confidence, but again, it's talk about a shorthanded starting rotation a little bit for this Atlanta team. They've had to patch it together with your Max Frieds and your Ian Andersons and your Kyle Wrights, really ever since Mike Soroka got injured earlier in the season. But a proponent of that is Bryce Wilson getting the start here for Atlanta tonight. And his numbers are okay, but he doesn't pitch deep. He's not going to be a guy that goes probably more than 4 or 5 innings in this game tonight, if they can get that out of him. His ERA is above 4, which is nothing to write home about. And this Atlanta bullpen has been, I think Brian Snitker did the best job he could yesterday to preserve this bullpen in a blowout loss. He put a bunch of, of his low end relievers out there, Grant Dayton, Wasker Yanoa, guys like that aren't going to be pitching in close games. So a lot of the key relievers should be available for Atlanta, but key relievers available or not, the Dodgers lineup, which we always knew was capable, has clearly come to life. It happened at the end of Game 2, and it carried over to Game 3 yesterday with that explosion against the Atlanta Braves. I think this Dodgers lineup can do damage against Wilson. I don't think Wilson will shut this team down whatsoever, but I do think Atlanta can connect off of Kershaw. Kershaw's one Achilles heel, kind of like Garrett Cole, the ace with the Yankees. He's prone to the long ball, and Atlanta can hit it out of the park. Kershaw can give up a home run or two. That's always where he's been a little bit vulnerable at times. And Atlanta's got power and thunder in their lineup to maybe take advantage of a time when a slow, soft tossing lefty like Kershaw misses his spot. And when he misses his spot, if he misses his spots against a lineup like Atlanta's, they can make him pay. So I'm going to come right back to the well with the over here. Over 9 between Atlanta and the LA Dodgers here in this game tonight, Game 4 of the NLCS. All right, let's turn our attention now to college football. We do have No NFL tonight, so it's just the one college football game taking place tonight. It is Sunbelt action once again, just like it was last night. It's the Georgia State Panthers taking on the Arkansas State Red Wolves. We've got Arkansas State around a 3-point favorite, 72.5 the total. It is a very, very high total in this game, and you can understand why. Arkansas State has had zero defense this season. They've been gashed by every good offense they faced. They gave up 37 in the opener against Memphis. Kansas State got into the 40s against them. You look at their even the game against Central Arkansas, their last game, they gave up over into the 20s against Central Arkansas. So Blake Anderson has issues on the defensive side of the football. His team is definitely not getting stops. They haven't shown any ability to get pressure from their defensive front. Stopping the run has been a huge problem for them, and that's an even bigger concern going into tonight because Georgia State can run the football. Destin Rhodes is a phenomenal running back for this Georgia State team. And Cornelius Brown, who, let's be honest, we had question marks about the Panthers coming into this season at quarterback. Dan Ellington was a great quarterback for them. He really was in command of this Georgia State offense for the last year or two that he was the starter for this program. Now, all of a sudden, Cornelius Brown's the new quarterback this year, and you're wondering coming into the season, or at least I was wondering, could this be the same explosive Georgia State offense? Well, so far, so good. They lit up East Carolina for a ton of points. They hung tough with UL Lafayette, 34-31, scored 31 points on a very good UL Lafayette defense. There's a lot to like with this Georgia State offense. Their own defense is okay, but Arkansas State's strength is still their offense. I mean, Arkansas State does have a good offense. He's been going back and forth between his two quarterbacks, Logan Bonner and Lane Hatcher, the two quarterbacks here for this Arkansas State team. Blake Anderson's been interchanging between the two. I don't think there's a whole lot of difference between the two. I think both can play, and he just decides to go series to series, drive to drive with whichever quarterback is probably in a better playing rhythm. But I don't feel strongly about this game tonight from a side or total perspective, but, I would sprinkle maybe a little bit on Georgia State here. And when it comes to football betting, NFL or college for that matter, I don't like laying points with defenses that can't get stops. And Arkansas State has proven so far this season to be one of those defenses. They can't get consistent stops. And I'm not interested in backing teams like that as favorites. Now, even though they're only a small field goal favorite here, they've still got to win this game by more than that. And you worry that if they're up by, let's say 10 or up by, 9 in the final 2 minutes, they give up that backdoor touchdown and you end up losing, which they're more than capable of. And Georgia State is more than capable offensively of scoring that backdoor touchdown late in the game. I don't like laying points with bad defenses. I think there's probably now at 3 a little value on Arkansas State, but no, it would be Georgia State for me. But again, not a real strong opinion from a betting standpoint for me on this game. I do think this is an over game all the way, over the total. I think both offenses have advantages over the opposing defense. Both teams run at an above average pace and tempo. The problem is it's a very, very high number, 72. You've got to get a game like, you're going to have to get a 38-35, a 42-38 kind of game to get this game over the total. That being said, I still think it can get there. It's just a very high total. You don't normally see these weeknight Sunbelt games from a total standpoint lined as high as in the 70s like this is. So I think the odds makers have done a good job. I don't see an incredible amount of value with this over, but it's certainly the way I would bet it is over the total. I don't want the under with these two offenses and specifically with these two defenses. So Georgia State over the total, side and total would be the way I would go with the Sunbelt game here on Thursday night. All right, that'll wrap up the show. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. I appreciate it. Hope you're enjoying the Ian Cameron Sports Report. If you're interested in handicapping subscription service with me, with Ian Cameron Capping, send an email to bobano350@gmail.com. 55 and 35, 61% run in NFL and college football. We started the week off with a bang last night with Coastal Carolina plus 7.5 winning outright against Lafayette. We'll look to keep the football profits going this weekend. It's just $75 a month to subscribe. All sports. It's a drop in the bucket compared to what major handicapping websites and services charge on a monthly basis. You have to pay $300 a month in some cases for all sports. For me, it's not even a third of that price. $75 a month, all sports. It's quality service. You get written analysis with the top plays. And like I said, we're doing a pretty solid job so far here in football season, hoping that continues. If you want to get on board, send an email to bobano350@gmail.com. All right, that'll wrap up the show. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow, Friday, October 16th, with another edition of the Ian Cameron Sports Report. And a reminder, Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern, every Thursday live, Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy, breaking down every NFL game on the card and a little college football as well. That's every Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern, Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy right here on the Pub Sports Radio YouTube channel. Thanks for everyone for tuning in. Enjoy the games and good luck on this Thursday night, and I'll be back with you tomorrow on Friday for another edition of the Ian Cameron Sports Report.